For this assignment, you'll be using paint to complete the worksheet and we'll need the following. Primary colors only. That's red, yellow, and blue only. I can tell if you don't use just those colors. You'll need the mixing palette or disposable plate, a cup of water and a paper towel, and a paintbrush. Before painting, fill in the answers for questions 1 through 6. Before we get started, let's answer numbers 1 through 6. So the first part asks, what are the 3 primary colors? First is red, second is yellow, and third is blue. Red, yellow, and blue. These are the 3 colors from which all colors are made. These are prime. They cannot be broken down into anything further. The next part, it's asking what colors red plus yellow make, and that answer is orange. What colors do yellow and blue make, and that is green. And lastly, what color does blue and red make, and that is violet. All right. That was easy. So let's paint. So the first part, you are just taking the color themselves and placing them in there. And then it's hard to see on a lot of your papers if you got the packets from the school because the printer wasn't able to see this writing up here. So what you'll be doing there is something a little bit different. Let's start off with the first part. So you don't really need the mixing palette for this. You can just use straight out of the container. Ooh, they're hard to get open. All right, so all we need to do is use straight out of that color out of the container. You don't need a lot. You don't really need to overload your brush, and you're just going to fill in those spaces. So the first one is red, second is yellow, and the third one would be blue. Take your time. Fill the entire space in. Try your best not to get around the edges. In between your colors, thoroughly rinse your brush, especially if you are transferring from red or blue to yellow. Yellow is one of those colors that is easily, dirtied or gets gross pretty quick. If you look at it and we were to be able to see just in black and white, yellow would be that color that is lightest in value. So, besides white. White is not a color. All right. So try to get off as much as you can off of your brush before you switch over to the next color. That way you don't contaminate. Next one is yellow. Again, you don't need to overload the brush. You don't need to submerge the entire thing in the paint. That's a no-no. You should never do that kind of thing. One, it's more difficult to clean off the brush. And secondly, you just don't need to overconsume with the paint. Thirdly, it can cause all kinds of messes, and yeah, you want to keep those on the end of the brush. Hey, buddy. You have a bone? Oh, mommy's proud. Go chew that somewhere else, baby. Okay, so clean off your brush and move on to your last one, which is the blue. For this worksheet, only use these 3 colors, and I can tell if you haven't. Okay, so the bottom part of this, you can see these ovals and they overlap in the middle. So the top part is going to be, on mine, you can see it on mine, but ones that you picked up in the school, you can't. So the top part is going to be red, the bottom part would be yellow, and then in between it's red plus yellow equals. All right, same thing goes here. Hi, baby. Top part is yellow, bottom part is blue, yellow and blue equal. And lastly, top part is blue, bottom part is red, and blue and red equal. All right, so it's just as the formula below here, if you can't see that. Now I've already got blue on my brush, so I could use this blue and mark the two blue spaces. So I'm going to go ahead and paint those. So I've got those two marked up, and now I'm going to move on to my next one. I'll just move on to red. So again, we're going to mark the two spaces that are going to need red. Thoroughly rinse that brush. Make sure you get off as much as you can. Dab it on the paper towel. And let's move on to the red. So that would be this top space right here and over here. So we're going to fill those in. All right, rinse that brush thoroughly, especially now if you've been following the same pattern that I am, because we're moving on to yellow. And yellow, again, I've already told you guys, can get easily contaminated. So what we're going to do is fill in these last two spaces with the yellows. So down here and right here. Color those in. All right, so we've got those filled in. And now we're going to mix for the middle parts. I've already got yellow on my brush, so I'm just going to go ahead and work with something that needs yellow in it, and that would be this first one or this second one. Both need yellow. I'm going to start over on the left-hand side. So we're going to be making an orange color. I don't know why I just stuck my brush in the water. All right. So we're going to need just, and really red is going to dominate this. We don't need a lot of paint. I'm going to get a nice scoop of yellow in here. Rinse my brush. And then as far as the red goes, you don't want the same amount of red. Red is more dominating. It's called tonal dominance. So you think of the tone or the intensity of that color, and red is way more dominant than yellow. So we don't need a lot of it. We can always come back and get more. And we're just going to be filling in one little tiny spot. So I'm really just grabbing, about half of what I did of the yellow. And again, I place it up here on my palette. And we're just making an orange, a nice orangey tone. Orangey color. If it's not the color we want, we can always go back. Now this is not going to be a true hue. It's not going to look like the orange you're accustomed to. And this is because there's a difference between theory and actual practicality. So we just need an orangey tone, and I think that that should be sufficient enough. So there's our orange. It's more on, if you ever mixed ketchup and mustard together, it has that same kind of look to it. And again, I haven't even mixed enough to finish this off, so I'm going to have to mix a little bit more of it. My animals are going wild. Yes, we hear you. Okay, so I'm going to have to make some more. Tighten. I told you to take that bone somewhere else. So get some yellow in there again. And then I'm going to use the lid, even though this is not smart. Get a little bit of red in there. And mix my tone again. I think I got too much red, not enough yellow. I refuse to contaminate the yellow, so I'm going to rinse off my brush and get some more. And this is, all about learning and mixing your colors correctly. Again, it's not going to look like the orange you're accustomed to. There's a difference between theory and practical. Surely, by God, this time I've got it. And I've got a hair. Okay. All right, so let's finish this off. There we go. This is why I was saying I will be able to tell if you mixed your colors or if you just used the other group of colors to paint this. All right. Let's move on to that second one. So this one is going to contain yellow and blue. Again, you're going to need less blue, more of the yellow. This time, let's hope I can get it right and not have to keep mixing and mixing and mixing. All right, so I'm going to get a good old, this time I'm going to get a large scoop of yellow. I'm pretty much covering the entire fibers of the brush, depositing that on the side. Kind of wiping off my brush a little bit. And I'm going to get a scoop of blue, about half of it, half the size of the brush, placing that also on, depositing that also on the side. I've already got some blue on my brush, so I'm going to start mixing my green color and bringing in some blue here and there. I think that's pretty good. I did a much better job this time than when I was working with the orange. All right, see here, I didn't even use all that blue because blue is really, really dominant. And so if I had done that, it would have probably been a really, really dark green. And that's fine if that's what you're looking for, but I didn't really want to use all that. All right, and our last one. Thoroughly rinse that brush. And our last one, which color do you think is more dominant, the blue or the red? The blue is more dominant, it is darker. If we were to put this in black and white, if we were to look at these paints, the blue would be a much darker color or a much darker tone than the red would be. All right, so we're going to use more of the red and less of the blue again. So again, deposit that on there. I'm not really rinsing my brush, I'm just kind of dabbing it on the towel. You can see all my little dabs I've made. Scoop up a little bit of that blue. Depositing it on the side. All right, and let's mix. It's going to make a really deep purple. Or violet, I should say violet. So I'm asked all the time, why is it called purple and sometimes referred to as violet? And purple actually would be the term that you would use for paint, for subtractive art, for what I call art color. And violet would be talking about science color or additive color. It's talking about the electromagnetic spectrum. It's referred to as violet. So either trim is fine. I used to get on kids about it, but since we are using art or paint, we are using subtractive color, purple is just fine. Okay. And there we have it, the primary colors and secondary colors.